Hello again. It's time for some team training for Oklahoma Housing Needs Assessment. This lesson is on labeling feature classes in ArcGIS. And so this is part of our group of lessons looking at GIS software. And in this lesson, we're going to look at ways to label feature classes. So I'm going to stop my share here and go into ArcMap. And in this exercise, I'm using getting to know ArcGIS data. This is from chapter 7 of the exercises. And here you can see we have a map. We're zoomed in on the country of Mexico and in parts of Central America. And you can see over in our table of contents, we have several layers, and we have southeastern states, and the countries layers are turned on right now. And what I'm going to do is I have a bookmark up here that zooms into the southeastern states. I could just as easily have clicked on southeastern states and said zoom to layer. It's a slightly different view, but I mean, it's basically the same thing. And so now we're looking at the Yucatan Peninsula. If you've been down in these parts, Cancun is over here. Cozumel is on this island. You know, we shows some of the neighboring countries like Belize and Guatemala here. And these areas that are highlighted are actually the southeastern states of the country of Mexico. Now, in some of the previous exercises, we've turned on and off layers, so you probably already know how to do that. If I right-click on southeastern states here, I can just label features, and there you see we have the states labeled like Yucatan and Campeche, Quintana Roo. And so, you know, when you're looking at a map, you almost always have to add labels to identify what people are looking at. Now, if I right-click on southeastern states and I hit properties down here, bring up the dialog box. And so once again, you probably are familiar with this from working with it for our symbology exercises. But there's also the labels tab. And you can see here, if you open the labels tab, you can turn the labels on and off here. So, you know, if I hit apply here, you can see the labels turn off. So this is just doing what we did just a moment ago in a different way. And right now, we're just going to label all the features the same way. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to select the label field from the attribute table. And so we've got several in here: the administrative name, the country name, the population, the area, and so on and so forth. And so we just want the administrative name right now. And you can see that it came up with Book Antiqua is the type of font that is used, and it is a number 12 font. And you have control of these. So like if you want to change the color, so right now it is set to black, and you say, well, you know, maybe that's a little too bold. Let's change it to gray 70. And let's change our font from Book Antiqua. We want just regular old Arial. You know, and maybe we want to make it a little bit smaller. We'll take it down to 9. And if you hit apply there, you can see that those changes have been made. So it's really a pretty straightforward operation. We hit OK there, and then those changes become permanent. And, you know, you say, well, I also would like to label the Gulf of Mexico, but you can see there's no ocean layer or anything. In fact, this blue color is just the color of the background of the data frame. But we can still add a label there just by going up to our drawing toolbar and selecting text and clicking down there, and you get a little text box, and we'll put in Gulf of Mexico here, right? There we go. And look away from that. And so we got that label, and you say, well, you know, it's kind of small. Can I change that? Well, yes, you can. We'll just double click on that. And you can see here it's Arial 10. So I think it just took the size that we were using previously, but we can change the symbol here. And there's a number of preloaded styles here. This is in the symbol selector again. And if we scroll down here, like ocean, that's what we want. And so that changes to blue and it makes it Arial, and the font, it gets a little bit larger, and it gives it, it italicizes the font. So we said, okay, there, hit apply, and let me move this out of the way. And so you see, okay, that's better. So we'll hit okay there. If you move your cursor over that, you'll see you get these 4 little arrows on the icon. And so you can click there. And so like we can relocate this. Now, this is not really a label as such. It's really just a piece of text that we're moving around. You can copy these, and like, if we do a paste, it'll put another one here. We can move it over here and say, okay, well, let's change that to the Caribbean. I must be doing something wrong here. I don't know if I know how to spell Caribbean, but you get the idea here, right? I think I may have an extra B in there or something, but at any rate, we can add labels and move things around, very, very easily here. Now, in your table of contents, let's turn on this ruins layer. So, for those of you who may be fans of archaeology and prehistoric cities, I think, you probably know that this area of the Yucatan and some of the neighboring countries was the home of the Mayans. And there are a lot of ruins down there. And we have a layer that's a point layer that identifies where these ruins are. And if I turn that on, you can see the labeling is turned on. But I think it's set to, let me open the properties box here. I think it's set to the period that the ruin is from. And let's say we want to change that to the name of the ruin. There we go. And hit apply there. Yeah. And so now you can see, Chichen Itza, Goba, Calakmul, and the different ruins that are in the area, which are quite spectacular if you've never been there. Okay, so now one of the things that we can do is control the placement properties of the labels. And this is done automatically. So you create rules here. So in this ruins layer, I still got the the labels tab selected. And I'm going to hit the placement properties, and it brings up this little dialog box. Okay. And it has a little box. This is kind of a little, rules table. And it says, offset the label horizontally around the point. Okay. And then we prefer to put it in the top right, but all positions are allowed. And so you can kind of see the priority of 1 here is highest, 3 is lowest. If we had a 0, that would mean it's blocked, but we said we allow all of it here. Now we can change the location. If we click here, we get a bunch of different presets, right? So like top center only, and so I'm gonna pick top only, but prefer the center. Okay. All right. So we do that. And we're going to hit OK and apply there. And there you can see that they're moved to the center. Now, there wasn't any conflicts really going on, so it didn't have to move it to the left or to the right, but it has the ability to do that if there was something in the way. Okay. So now I'll hit OK here. I'm going to turn on the rivers and the lakes layers here. And so like you can see, we have some rivers, and it looks like the labels are already on for the rivers. And, but it doesn't look like it labeled all of the rivers. So I'm not really quite sure what, is going on there. But we can give priorities to some of the labeling. And so I've already got the labeling menu here open, but if you don't, you can go up to customize toolbars and turn on labeling. And what we're going to do here is and I know this is microscopic, but the second one here from the left, label priority ranking, and you can see that lakes has the priority, then ruins, rivers is here in the middle, and so like I can select it and I can move it up one at a time, or I can push it all the way to the top. And if I apply there, you can see like it brought on. It turned on another river here, and I think that because it was below it, that was being blocked because maybe it was too close to Tabasco or one of the other symbols here. But you have control over the ranking. Okay, now double click the rivers layer. And that will bring up our layer properties again. We'll go to labels, and this time I want to change the symbol for the rivers, and so I'm going to take that down here. So here's a rivers symbol, right? Color 8 times New Roman, size 8, and we're going to hit OK there. We'll hit apply, and you can see it turn the river layers to blue. They're a little small. I'm actually gonna make them a little bit bigger here for my eyes. And you have, again, you have full control over that. Maybe now they're a little bit too big. There we go. All right, and all right, we'll just leave it there. Now we can also change these priorities. I'm going to make it a little bold, make them bold. And now that, I think that looks good. And we can also change the placement properties on this one. And when you get the placement properties here, you're going to notice, well, it looks a little different. And that's because the rivers are line features. They're not point features. So we have, different options of the position. So you can put it above the river, below the river, on the river. I'm going to leave it above, but right now it's set to being parallel to the feature. I'm going to say curve it to kind of follow the curve of the rivers. And, some of this you just have to kind of do by trial and error, but let's see what this looks like. And if we apply that, you can see it moves some of them, and it kind of tries to fit them to follow the curvature of the rivers themselves. Now, one of the things I want to do here is point out another feature called the scale range. So you can make these labels scale dependent. Right now, they use the same scale as the feature label layer, but you can change it here so you don't show labels when you're zoomed, and you can go, you can turn them off if you're out behind an area. So see, we're at 1 to 3,439,000. I'm going to make it 3,500,000, and we'll leave it zoom all the way in beyond a maximum scale. We'll hit OK there, and we'll hit OK, and you see, well, nothing really changed, right? But if I zoom out a bit to 1 to 4 million, well, there you go. Right, you can see that now the river layers are turned off. But if I zoom back in, they show just fine. And so this is really handy because a lot of times if you're zoomed in, you have room to show the labels. But now, like if you make a larger map or you're zoomed way out, it may be difficult to show all the labels without it getting terribly cluttered, right? So now let's I'm going to zoom in here a little bit on Chiapas, and you can kind of see how things when you move around, the labels are sort of scale dependent. All right, so now last thing I want to show you here is how to create some interactive labels. I'm going to zoom back out to my previous extent here, and I'm going to turn on the cities. All right, and so there you see the cities and the the labels are not turned on right now, but let's say I just want to label Merida, which is this city up here in the Yucatan, the capital of the Yucatan. And, to do that, I can go up here to my drawing toolbar and select the little arrow next to the text. And you can see, you can do just a plain old text like we did for the Gulf of Mexico, but it also has a label option. And so if I click on label, now I've got this, it looks like a little price tag. And if I click on Merida, you can see it kind of shows Merida, and I click there and it makes a label, and it says automatically find best placement, right? And use property set for the feature class. Okay, so that's what we want to do there. So I can close that down. And then, if you select the elements tool, we can move it around, so you can place that label wherever you want. And this is actually a label now that is associated with Merida. It's not just a piece of text. And if we right click on it, you can get this context menu, and you can nudge it to the left a little bit. You can use your arrows for nudging too, which is very handy. I like that tool. Now click out here in the blue area to unselect that. Okay, so the next thing is how to convert the labels into annotation, right? And so to do that, I'm going to click on the Southwest States layer. I'm going to right click it, and I get this context menu. And see, it says here, convert labels to annotation. Okay, so this is what this is going to do is it's basically going to convert them from layers to permanent annotation, and you can make a whole different annotation feature class in the database, or we can just put it in the map. In this case, I'm just going to put it in the map, and we're going to label all the features in this feature class. And once it looks kind of like that, we'll just hit convert, and now you have converted these to annotations. So now you can see I can just select them one by one, move them around, and rearrange them the way that I want them to. All right, so that kind of covers labeling features, and it's not difficult, but probably takes a little practice. One of the things that I really didn't mention is that to be a map maker, you're also sort of an artist, right? And so placing the labels so that they're pleasing, so that they label things, but they don't get in the way of the items of the map. They kind of work with one another. There's balance in the composition, the scale of the labels is right, and that sort of thing. So you want to think about that as you make your maps. All right, that'll do it for this time.